Two guys are in a bar. Hey, I've got an idea, let's play 20 questions. 20 questions. How do you play? You ask me questions and try to guess what I'm thinking of. Okay. But you have to write down what you're thinking of so I know you're not cheating. The man agrees, and writes down Moosecock on a small piece of paper. Okay, I got a question. Does it taste good? I guess so. Is it Moosecock? A man walks into a bar and asks for a glass of water. The bartender pulls out a shotgun and fires a shot, barely missing the man's head. The man gets up, says thank you, and leaves a tip. Why the tip and thank you? Because the man had the hiccups. One day Sven walks into the local pub and announces, well boys, Sven's is getting married. As you can imagine, all of Sven's friends were very happy for Sven's good fortune and they asked, who's the lucky girl? Sven replied, well, I am a marrying Madge. Well, this upset all of Sven's friends because Madge was nothing but a slut, and they all cried. Sven, you can't marry Madge, she's not a nice girl. Sven replied, oh yeah, Sven's in love and he's getting married. And his friends persisted, Sven, Madge is a woman of low morals. Sven just grinned and replied, oh yeah, but I love Madge. Finally, his friends had enough and in unison cried out, but Sven, Madge has been screwed by every man in town. Oh yeah, said Sven, but it's not that big of a town. The bartender said, sorry, we don't serve time travelers. Two time travelers walk into a bar. This guy walks into a bar and sits down on a stool and places a bottle of prescribed medication on the bar. The man sitting next to him says, what is that? The guy says, these are smart pills, you take one and it makes you smarter. The half-drunk man says, you're joking, aren't you? And the guy says, no, I am not. So the drunk says to the bartender, give a large glass of beer. The drunk opens the bottle and takes a pill and washes it down. A few minutes later the drunk says, I don't feel smarter. And the guy says, well, some people require more than one pill. So the drunk takes another pill and washes it down, and few minutes later he says, I still don't feel any smarter. So the drunk says, hey, let me see those pills. The drunk takes a pill and smells it and says it smells like shit, and he tastes it and says, it tastes like shit. The guy says, see, you're getting smarts already. A man walks into a bar. He sits down and orders a beer. While drinking he notices on the back shelf, a giant glass jar full of dollar bills. He asks the bartender what's with all the dollar. The bartender replies, it's a game customers play. They put $50 in the jar, and have to complete 3 tasks to win the bulk. The man says, shocked, well, what are the tasks? There must be thousands in that jar. The bartender responds, you must pay the $50 before given the tasks. The man refuses and claims that's stupid. But after a few beers, curiosity gets to him and he decides to pay the fee. The bartender explains the 3 tasks are, you must first drink this entire bottle of tequila until it's empty. Next, out back is an angry, stray Rottweiler who has a horrible tooth which needs to be removed. And lastly, upstairs in the apartment is an old lady who's been widowed for 45 years and hasn't had an orgasm since. So you must also give her a wild time to extreme pleasure to win the reward. The man agrees and starts with a few sips of the spirit, takes a break, then chugs the rest of the entire bottle. Already feeling wasted and dazed, he stumbles out of his stool, and towards the back exit. Once outside, the bartender and other customers can only listen to what is happening. After a few barks and growls, all of a sudden the dog lets out a loud whimper. In stumbles the daring man, clothes shredded and blood splattered. The customers' mouths were hanging wide open. The bartender asks, "Oh my God, nobody's ever done that, is the dog going to be all right?" "Ah, don't worry about that damn dog," shouts the drunken man. "Just tell me where the old bitch is who needs that tooth pulled." Heard this from an old man, not sure where he got it from, or if it's on here already or not. A man is sitting in a bar when a beautiful woman walks up and whispers in his ear, "I'll do anything you want for $50. He puts his drink down and starts going through his pockets. This woman walks into a bar, and she has the hairiest armpits in the history of armpits. She sits down, raises her arm, and says, "Bartender, I would like a drink." There's an old drunk sitting next to her. Slurring, he says, "Barkeep, I would like to buy the ballerina a drink." She accepts, drinks it, raises her arm again to get the bartender's attention, and orders another. The old man says, "Barkeep, you just keep giving the ballerina anything she wants." Finally, the bartender goes over to the drunk and says, "Sir, that's nice of you, but how do you know she's a ballerina?" The old man answers, "Son, you don't get to be my age without learning that only ballerinas can lift their legs that high." He pulls out a 10, 2 5s, a 20 and 10 1s. He thrusts the wadded up money into the woman's hand and says, "Here, paint my house." An alcoholic, a smoker and a gay went to a doctor. The doctor told them that if they do again what they think are addicted to, they will die. As soon as the alcoholic went out of the hospital, he saw a bar. He thought for a while and said to himself, "If I drink one, I will die. If I don't drink, I will die, too. So it's better to get drunk." And he entered the bar, drank and died. At that time, the smoker saw one cigarette end on the street. The gay walking behind him started crying, Don't do it." "Why? I want to smoke so much. If you bend, we both are dead." A guy is sitting in a bar and turns to the Asian guy next to him and asks, "Hey, do you know Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu, Kung Fu or any of that shit?" Offended, the Asian man replies, "What, you think that just because I'm Asian I know martial arts?" The man replies, "Nah, it's because you're drinking my fucking bourbon." A cop is staking out a bar for drunk drivers. At closing time, he sees a guy stumble out of the bar, trip on the curb, and fumble for his keys for 5 minutes. When he finally gets in, it takes him another 5 minutes to get the key in the ignition. Meanwhile, everybody else leaves the bar and drives off. When he finally pulls away, the cop is waiting for him, pulls him over, and gives him a breathalyzer test. The test shows he has a blood alcohol level of 0.0. The cop says, "How is this possible?" The guy says, "Tonight I'm the designated decoy." An alcoholic walked into a bar and, after staring for some time at the only woman seated at the bar, walked over to her and kissed her. She jumped up and slapped him silly. He immediately apologized and explained, "I'm sorry. I thought you were my wife. You look exactly like her. Why, you worthless, stupid, no good drunk." She screamed. "Funny," he muttered, "you even sound exactly like her." A drunk stammers out of a bar and runs into 2 priests. He runs up to them and says, "I'm Jesus Christ." The first priest says, "No, son, I'm Jesus Christ." So the drunk says it to the second priest. The second priest replies, "No, son, I'm Jesus Christ." The drunk says, "Look, I can prove it," and walks back into the bar with the priests. The bartender takes one look at the drunk and exclaims, "Jesus Christ, you're here again." Little cowboy runs into a bar shouting angrily, "Who's the lousy varmint that painted my horse green?" A big cowboy sidles up to him and says, "I did. Want to complain to me?" "No," says the little guy, "just wanted you to know that the first coat is dry." After a really good party, a man walks into a bar and orders a drink. Already drunk and delirious, the man turns to the person sitting next to him and says, "You wanna hear a blonde joke?" The person replies, "I am 240 pounds, world kickboxing champion and a natural blonde. My friend is 190 pounds, world judo champion and is a natural blonde. And my other friend is 200 pounds, world arm wrestling champion and is also a natural blonde. Do you still want to tell me that blonde joke?" The man thinks for a while and replies, "Not if I have to explain it 3 times. The sun is shining, what a beautiful day. It would be a pity not to sit this day in a pub by the window though." Chuck Norris walks into a bar, the beer starts to run. A man walks into a bar with a dog. The bartender says, "You can't bring that dog in here." "You don't understand," says the man. "This is no regular dog, he can talk." "Listen, pal," says the bartender. "If that dog can talk, I'll give you $100. The man puts the dog on a stool, and asks him, "What's on top of a house?" "Roof." "Right. And what's on the outside of a tree?" "Bark." "And who's the greatest baseball player of all time?" "Ruth." "I guess you've heard enough," says the man. "I'll take the 120s. The bartender is furious. "Listen, pal," he says, "get out of here before I belt you." As soon as they are on the street, the dog turns to the man and says, "Do you think I should have said DiMaggio?" A man walks into a bar one day and asks the bartender if he knows a man named Two Guns Gonzalez. The bartender says no, but he tells him that the man in the back named No Guns knows him. So the guy walks to the back of the bar and asks the man if he knows a guy named Two Guns Gonzalez. The man says, "Let me tell you a story. One day about a week ago, I was riding into town on my horse and this large man with 2 guns comes riding up to me and says, 'Get off your horse.' Well, 2 guns has 2 guns and No Guns has no guns, what could I do? I get off my horse. Then he says, 'Now drop your pants.' Well, 2 guns has 2 guns and No Guns has no guns, what could I do? I take off my pants. Then he says, 'Now shit.' Well, 2 guns has 2 guns and No Guns has no guns, what could I do? I shit. Then he says, 'Now eat it.' Well, 2 guns has 2 guns and No Guns has no guns, what could I do? I eat it. Now, 2 guns is laughing so hard, he drops his guns. I grab them. Now I say, 'Drop your pants.' Well, 2 guns has no guns and No Guns has 2 guns, what could he do? He drops his pants. Then I say, 'Now shit.' Well, 2 guns has no guns and No Guns has 2 guns, what could he do? He shits. Then I say, 'Now eat it.' Well, 2 guns has no guns and No Guns has 2 guns, what could he do? He eats it. So when you ask me if I know a man named Two Guns Gonzalez, the answer is yes, I had lunch with him last week. A pirate walks into a bar with a ship's wheel on his penis. The bartender says to him, 'You know you've got a ship's wheel on your penis.' And the pirate says, 'Arg, I know. It drives me nuts.' A black man bought a round of drinks for everyone in the bar, announcing that his wife had just given birth to a typical black baby boy weighing 20 pounds. Congratulations showered him from all around, and many exclamations of "wow" were heard. A woman fainted due to sympathy pains. 2 weeks later, he returned to the bar. The bartender said, "Say, you're the proud father of an amazing black baby who weighed 20 pounds at birth. How much does he weigh now?" The proud father answered, 15 pounds. The bartender was puzzled. Why? What happened? He weighed 20 pounds at birth. The father drank the bottle of whiskey at one go, wiped his lips on his shirt sleeve, leaned into the bartender and said, "Had him circumcised." 2. Hydrogen atoms walk into a bar. One says, "I think I've lost an electron." The other says, "Are you sure?" The first says, "Yes, I'm positive." 2. Guys were in a bar, and they were both watching the television when the news came on. It showed a guy on a bridge who was about to jump, obviously suicidal. "I'll bet you $10 he'll jump," said the first guy. "Bet you $10 he won't," said the second guy. Then, the guy on the television closed his eyes and threw himself off the bridge. The second guy hands the first guy the money. "I can't take your money," said the first guy. "I cheated you." The same story was on the 5 o'clock news. "No, no. Take it," said the second guy. "I saw the 5 o'clock news too. I just didn't think the guy was dumb enough to jump again." An Englishman, Irishman and a Scotchman are sitting in a pub full of people. The Englishman says, "The pubs in England are the best. You can buy one drink and get a second one free." Everyone in the pub agreed and gave a big cheer. The Scottish man says, "Yeah. That's quite good, but in Scotland you can buy one drink and get another two for free." Again, the crowd in the pub gave a big cheer. The Irish man says, "Your two pubs are good, but they are not as good as the ones in Ireland. In Ireland you can buy one pint, get another 3 for free and then get taken into the back room for a shag." The English says, "Well, did that happen to you?" And the Irishman replies, "No, but it happened to my sister." Two friends who had not seen each other for a while met at a bar. "Hey, your wife just had a birthday recently, didn't she? Did you get her anything special?" "Yeah, I got her a pair of slippers and a dildo." "A pair of slippers and a dildo?" "Yeah, I said if you don't like the slippers, you can go fuck yourself." On the morning a cop walks into a bar and sees his wife with two of his best friends. He takes a sit on the table behind them to eavesdrop. Then his wife says, "Let's have him kidnapped." A poor guy, heartbroken, pulls out a gun and shoots them all and runs back to his house to grab some cash and clothes to escape. When he finally reached his house and opens the door, everyone yells "Happy birthday." An alien walks into a bar and sits next to a drunk guy and begins poking him in the shoulder. The drunk guy just ignores him. After a while the guy turns to the alien and begins looking him up and down. He notices that the alien has no genitalia. He then asks, "You guys have no genitalia, how do you guys have sex?" The alien, still poking him in the arm, just smiles. Two old drunks in a bar. The first one says, "You know, when I was 30 and got a hard-on, I couldn't bend it with either of my hands. By the time I was 40, I could bend it about 10 degrees if I tried really hard. By the time I was 50, I could bend it about 20 degrees, no problem. I'm gonna be 60 next week, and now I can almost bend it in half with just one hand." "So," says the second drunk, "what's your point?" "Well," says the first, "I'm just wondering how much stronger I'm gonna get."